Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to another episode of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, episode 106, and today is March 28th, 2022. I'm Bill, and I'm joined, as always, by my Eldritch co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome, guys.
Eldritch.
Hello.
Okay.
I've always aspired to be Eldritch, so this is a big
I'm
day
not
for
wearing
me.
my fingers. If I was wearing my pattern fingers, then I would agree. But
You're not
no.
wearing your fingers?
Well, not my pattern.
That's
fingers.
creepy. I think we've already got a
I think she is Eldritch.
I can't win. I just can't win.
It sounds like you just did, but
Oh,
Okay.
man. Before we get started, we do want to remind our listeners that the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast. That means if there is something in the Cosmere you haven't read and are worried about hearing spoilers, you might want to go read those first, then come back and join in on the discussion. Tonight in particular, because we are talking about an unpublished work, so it could be spoilers even at that point. Tonight we're discussing Secret Project number 3, so if you're avoiding spoilers about the secret projects, you have been warned.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube, we do want to remind you that it's possible for our listeners to interact with us live via chat as we record each episode at www.twitch.tv/InnkeepersTable. We record episodes of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so please join us and take an active part in the discussion. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. Even $1 per episode or two really just helps us out. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show and the Cosmere with other listeners. It's a good community. We've got a lot of great discussions. It's a lot of fun to be in there, so please join us. You'll also get early access to bonus episodes, exclusive access to other bonus content, and other good stuff. We did recently meet a stretch goal on Patreon where we do monthly monologues. We've got the first one recorded. It's a little bit later than we'll normally do it. Normally, it will be coming out on the last off week of each month, meaning the weeks that we don't put out an episode. This time it's going to come out the last on week of an episode. So we are calling it Quick 6, and patrons will get access to it a week before anyone else.
it's like a quick fix, but
Indeed.
6.
Okay.
I wanted to call it 6 and 6, but Jordan
that's
didn't
a
like
little
that.
limiting.
I didn't want to commit myself to short periods of time because being short-winded is not a skill that I have.
What are you talking about? I have no idea.
You're right. Brevity
What
is
you're
the soul
referring
of
to.
wit. I understand.
Mm.
I thought design was the soul of wit, or at least the companion.
It's a spread of wit, but I can see the
right.
confusion.
Yeah.
But also, along with that, Jordan also has an announcement that he wanted to talk about, I think.
Yes. So I have been considering that I wanted to do a thing. And this thing that I desired to do, I want to reread through at least Era 2 of Mistborn before the new series comes through. And I thought about that and said, that sounds so sad and alone if I do it by myself. And so I was trying to find a way to involve the community. And so I have come up with what is tentatively being called, because I don't have a cool name for it yet, the Era 2 Read Along. As you can tell, it's a bit on the nose. And so basically, I'm going to come out with video content that we'll post to our YouTube channel. And we're going to be slowly reading through all of what I'm sort of considering the full Era 2 of Mistborn. So that's Alloy of Law, Shadows of Self, Bands of Mourning, and I'm throwing in Secret History because it feels like Secret History is supposed to be read after that, and also because I'm definitely trying to, shoehorn Secret History into any sort of reading I want.
And we know that Secret History is going to matter in book 4.
Yeah, definitely will matter. And so basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put out just in our Discord what chapters are going to be needed for the next episode. And from there, I'm going to just simply put just look for people to actually give me feedback and give me like questions to answer and stuff like that. And so I'm going to be needing some help it's going to be posted on YouTube. Questions that can be asked are going to be patrons only. We're going to create a room for it in the Discord. And so if you'd like to participate with me, the first one that we'll be posting next week, it's going to be the prologue through, what was it? I looked at this earlier. Prologue through chapter 3 of Alloy of Law.
Also, if you are just absolutely against joining Discord, first off, don't be against joining Discord because our Discord's fun. But if you have some strong aversion to it, you can just send us a message on Patreon as well.
Yeah, we can get it through there. But it's just easiest through Discord. So
right.
We highly encourage you to join the fun. But anyway, so yeah, that'll be starting next week. I don't know how long these things will take. I have a feeling that I'm just going to sort of wing it, depending upon the chapters and the questions, and I hope it'll be a lot of fun. Plus, hopefully we'll get people going to our YouTube page a little
bit. we got people coming. We just, we'd love to have more.
Yeah. More is the goal.
So since Era 2 has kind of that Wild West flair, maybe you could call it a ride-along instead of a read-along.
Ooh.
Could be. But I'm also considering, maybe, do I want to keep doing this? Like, once this is done, do I just want to just keep rolling it through? Because
because you crave attention?
That's also true. But no, because look, I like the idea of doing like just a pure read-along. It sounds interesting to me. And maybe I'll be sick of it by the time we get to the Lost Metal. I have a feeling I won't, and I think it should be a lot of fun.
Okay.
And heavens knows that next year we're going to have a lot of books to get through.
What are you talking about?
Books.
And that's called a segue.
A segu?
Yes, a segu.
Segue.
Okay, so Secret Project number 3. Again, if you're avoiding spoilers, now is the time where we're going to start spoiling, because the title of Secret Project number 3, which you've probably heard by this point, is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. And Amy is squeeing already.
It's got
we
anime
said the title.
vibes. It's got anime vibes, and I totally thought
does.
that Yumi was going to be a Japanese name, but apparently it's a Korean name too. So that's what he was referencing, was a Korean name. And
actually, she's also semi-named after Yuna from Final Fantasy X.
Yes, that's true too. But also, I'm just going to preface this very at the beginning that I'm going to say Korean instead of South Korean, because I know that I ended up talking to a South Korean guy forever ago randomly, and he was very bothered that I said he was Korean. So, but I don't want to say South Korean over and over and over again. So, just my little preface there, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You just got prefaced.
So yeah, first off, the inspirations for this, I kind of want to talk about those, since even though they're listed at the end, I think that kind of has something to do. Now, Jordan, are you aware of these? Because I know you watched the video. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
He talks about it in the video. Yeah.
He does talk about it in the video. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, because apparently this is what is it? Hikaru no Go?
Hikaru no Go. Yep.
Gesundheit. Okay, so this is a manga that I'm not familiar with at all.
Yeah, I've never heard of it either.
I've heard of it, but I didn't ever read it. I'm really hit and miss, like with my anime and manga that I've watched and read. But I'm aware of a lot of them just because of like cosplayers and other things like that. But yeah, I didn't really do any of the sports or game ones. And this is it's about Go. But apparently there's like a ghost teacher guy.
One of the oldest games in the history of the world. So
yeah.
as a board gamer, I'm suddenly interested in.
I mean, it sounds like people have enjoyed the manga and stuff, and if Brandon said he liked it too, even though he's not usually into anime or manga.
Right.
So
But yeah, so let's just sort of start at the beginning. So we've got
Seems
two
like a good
characters.
place.
We've got shifting
Mhm.
perspectives each chapter. It kind of reminds me of Elantris, except that instead of shifting between three perspectives, it's just two, which
Yeah.
is a little bit less
jarring. Yeah.
I don't want to call it jarring, but it's just like,
You're
because
back
you
and
can
forth and
basically
back and
you end the
forth.
chapter when you're ready to switch over to the other perspective in this, instead of
Yeah.
ending the chapter and having to go through somebody else's, like if you want to go from Raiden to Sereni, or if you want to go from Sereni to Raiden, you got to get through Raiden's chapter first.
Yeah, and
Well,
I think it
just
helps
remember
that there's only two genders too, so it's he and she. So it's like as soon as you see he or she, you're like, I know exactly who it's going to be. But
Yeah, well, and then on top of it, like Elantris had the weirdness of sometimes story-wise, one of the characters wouldn't really have much to do. I think it was Sereni who had the like one chapter where it's like she had nothing to do. It's sort of like her seat is sort of like her looking over a city, being like, "Yep, something's about to happen." And then it cuts to Wraithen.
I remember,
like,
yeah.
Well, there it is.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
kind of the limitation of having like the set formula that you have to go these other characters in between, and it's like, well, I've got to give them something to do, but there's not a whole lot to do.
And in this, it's just put in a chapter break, and it's just regularly there.
You go to the next person. Yep.
That said, the settings are drastically different.
Oh, they're like like yeah, very very different. Like bright, sunny, hot place where Yumi is, and then where Painter is dark with like neon lights.
Honestly, where Painter is reminded me of Shadesmar.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Like because it's like everything's dark, and then there's a single
pinprick
in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of New Kago.
Oh.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't I realized it's not in Shadesmar is because the description of design and how he'd pin stuff to her manifestation in the physical realm. I was like, well, he said in the physical realm. All right, there we go. And part of me wonders if that was intentional. Just to say, okay, no, they're not in Shadesmar. Just sort of give you that little clue.
You have to, because otherwise there's the question of what's going on.
What's up with the Spren, yeah. I loved how she described her own body.
Well, of course, she's Design. Design is just
she's going to make herself pretty and curvy with the cosine and everything. It made me feel bad that I'm not as good as math as I want to be when I read this book.
Basically, according to Design, math is sexy.
Yeah,
she's right. She's absolutely right.
Like it honestly sounds like a nerdy pickup line. Mm-hmm. Girl, you got curves like a sine wave.
Thank you, Doc, for that.
Well, it makes sense since she often goes on tangents.
Yeah, and my husband picked up on it a lot faster with the math things too.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. But I can't remember what the word was now, but there's like the number pattern that like is the perfect circle.
The Fibonacci
Golden
sequence.
Ratio?
Yes, that thing. My husband was like, why is she, because he was talking about Yumi, and he's like, why is she bathing in like this order with the oh goodness, how do you say it again? Fibonacci sequence. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's good to know that's actually a thing. I figured there had to be something with it, but he's an engineer and I'm not. So I didn't know those numbers off the top of my head. So
1, 1, 2, 3. Basically, it's to get the next number, you add the previous number, previous two numbers together.
Okay, and that gives you like the spiral of a Nautilus shell and stuff. So
yeah,
I'm familiar with it, but I just don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
So, but back to the settings. I have a suspicion, and I may be drastically wrong about this, but and Brandon may have even contradicted this already. I haven't read all of the words of Brandon on this stuff yet.
Mhm.
I feel like Yumi may be on Ashen.
I don't think she is. I don't
The-
remember him contradicting that directly, but I don't think she is.
The reason I say that is there are several different things that are mentioned that make me think Ashen. The buildings float. We know that Ashen has floating cities. We know that the surface Ashen of Ashen is volcanic and the ground is hot.
Yeah, but I
we-
get the feeling from this that it's more from the sun than the ground, isn't it?
I don't think so.
I thought it
they're
was the
talking about
ground because the
Yeah,
ground
it is the
is
ground.
hot.
Because
like-
everything floats, and when it touches down, it heats up. They touch down at night because everything around is colder. So
I think the sunlight probably
Well,
affects
so then what's
it.
the other planet?
I don't know.
So what makes me think it's not Ashen, not that I have a ton of evidence, is that there was a question in the live stream, and I only watched it one time, and I know I'm forgetting things, but someone was asking about virtuosity, which is the shard that's mentioned, and they were saying that, like, was she wandering for like 17,000 years, or what was the big gap in time? And he said that she purposefully did not pick a location right away, and so I don't think she would pick Ashen.
She was referred to in Painters.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's the two worlds, and I kind of get the feeling that it's. Have you guys seen or heard of Escaflowne?
Mhm.
I know of it. I never watched
So
it.
so in that one, there's. I think they're on the moon, but anyway, but like the main girl, she starts on Earth and she can see the moon or like an extra planet, and that's where she gets transported to for Escaflowne. And I kind of feel like it's the same thing with this, is that the star that they can see, which is actually a star, or it's a planet, but they think it's a star kind of, on Painter's planet is her world. And so I
Mhm.
think it's two different planets that way.
It's possible. I don't know.
Well-
There's just something that is just so reminiscent of every way he's described Ashen.
Well, there's something interesting going on with these two worlds in that they are sort of bizarro images of one another.
Mm-hmm.
Because one is covered in darkness, and the other one is bathed in light. One, the spirits or whatever it is are very aggressive and a problem, and the other one you entreat them for help. One you have you know you have people having to live on the ground versus those who have to live above it. Like it's everything seems to be the opposite.
Oh,
of
there's
the
an
other
absolute dichotomy
Mm-hmm.
going on.
one. Well, we even see it on I forget what's Yumi's planet's name. Did she say it at all?
I don't know that
She didn't. No, we don't
I
have
don't
the
think
planet
they. I don't
names.
think they've
Okay.
named the planets. They named,
But like
cities.
literally,
I forgot those.
When
Again,
she like
that's
negotiates,
another thing. I suspect it's Ashen.
when she negotiates for help with the spirits. She they literally pair off,
They split into a dark and a light, and then they both go with
which
whoever is the
is
supplicant.
very interesting.
Well, it reminds me of the split rubies on Roshar.
Yeah, it uses the same principle, it seems.
And they do talk about like how things like they use the same principles, like Jordan was saying, like with some of the things that people were requesting from Yumi to have the spirits do.
She also refers to the warden as Warden Nimi, which is what Zeth calls the sword Nimi.
Which is apparently coming from a Korean word, the Nimi.
But
I didn't know that
what
either.
I'm saying is that language similarity, they've got to have a common root.
Well, it being the
Cosmere. And the Shin are the closest place to where they came from Ashen.
Yeah, I guess I just keep going back to then what's the other planet? Like that part doesn't make sense.
What if it's one of the asteroids in the asteroid belt?
Seems like a big jump for me personally.
The thing is, there's something funky going on that world as well. So
well,
who
there's
knows?
the fact that
Yeah.
there's apparently we got like the second to last name shard in
Virtuosity.
Virtuosity.
But there's more to it than that, because it's just the world, like there's tangible darkness.
Yeah.
And magical power lines that cross the sky.
I know I don't want to say you're wrong, Bill, but it just doesn't jive for me, and I can't 100% place why, but it just doesn't.
For me, it's just the other questions
Mm.
of what, if it is Ashen, how is there another shard there? How is, like, now we don't know the timeline for this other than beyond where we are now in Stormlight.
Well, they said it was 17,000 years after Virtuosity shattered herself.
Yeah,
Splintered herself.
Splintered, sorry. So we don't remember, so we don't know if she wandered for a long time and then she splintered herself, and then there was 17,000 years or whatever it was. I feel like I'm getting my numbers wrong. Anyway, but yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no way of knowing that part.
Mhm.
Which part?
The timeline.
Well,
Yeah.
we know it's after Stormlight because Design is a character.
Yes, that's
yeah,
true.
that's all, but that's really the only thing we have as a reference. So,
and Hoyt is a coat rack, it's fine.
Yeah.
And somebody asked, they're like, because he's spray painted copper, right? Or copper or bronze. And somebody was like, was he awake for that? And Brandon's like, yeah, he was.
So yeah, Hoyt is. It sounds like Hoyt is basically frozen in time, but fully conscious, and
so
that sounds like a fate worse than death.
But
yeah, but apparently he got
for Hoyt, it's what's a century or two,
I don't know, man. That guy needs Hoyt and his hobbies.
Yeah, the self-depression. Oh goodness,
deprecating.
Yes, his tone was pretty good. Where he's like, well, maybe I'm just a really good coat rack. Basically, it's like, no, I'm not going to.
He's like, if I'm going to be a coat rack, I'm going to be the best dang coat rack there is.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I have no clue what's going on with Hoyt, but when do we ever have any clue what's going on with Hoyt? The point is, Hoyt is weird, and
Design is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're not really even talking. We haven't talked about the plot at all.
Yes,
We've just sort of been talking setting. Okay, so jump back. I think we kind of want to stick with each character individually, since they don't really. Nothing really happened. They don't mesh until the very, very end. But so let's start with Painter, since the book starts with Painter.
So I just feel kind of sorry for Painter. Like he's just the poor little sad loner who has tried to talk to people and it's just not gone well. And then I think Design even tries to be like, you should go try and talk to him. And I could even introduce you. And he's like, no, please no, just don't make it worse.
Yeah, it's hard to. He's one of the hardest to pin down characters so far. Like, I think the only character who's been more difficult to sort of pin them down is Sixth.
Really? I feel his character is pretty clear. I don't think there's anything weird about him. No, did you? I maybe I just was the only one who had friends like this. I had friends who they used that false sense of bravado to hide the reason why they're a loner. And the reason they're a loner is they're socially awkward.
Well, and that's definitely true and in there. It's just
but they cloak themselves in this false bravado that makes them seem prickly, and it justifies them as to why they're alone.
But what I'm saying is, we still, even though that's there, that's enough is obscured that we still don't have a full, clear image of who he is, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying we don't know anything about him, but it's the same with Sixth. We get, we're in his head, and so we start being able to pick up a lot on Sixth, but because he obscures so much of it, even from himself, we don't get as clear a picture of him. We get enough to understand the story and follow along, but it's just more blurred for now.
Yeah. I also
think
like the thing of him just sort of he doesn't really have a passion for his job, and so he keeps drawing bamboo.
Yeah,
Bamboo
like
works.
it feels like something slammed him down and crushed him a little bit in his
He's
past. This is me speculating.
mhm,
And so he's just like, I'll just paint bamboo. I'll just do that and I'll be comfortable and I'll be fine and I'll be fine. And he has these, grandiose ideas in his head, but he knows deep down that he's just making stuff up. And I
mhm,
have a feeling that through his interactions with Yumi, he's gonna grow into himself again.
mhm. Yeah, and I think we'll get a lot more of his personality
hmm
once they start interacting
But it
because
was a lot
he
of
has
setting and other thing else, establishing the very basics with these first chapters.
because he has something to bounce off of,
Yeah.
and just it's a lot easier to figure out somebody by contrasting them to something else. That's something Brandon's done
hmm
in a lot of his books. Like with Mistborn, he always had the other person, and then in the next book, he showed them in contrast. So in the first one you had Sazed, and then in the next book you contrasted him with Tindwyl and the rest of it, and then in the
hmm
second book you had Tinsoon, and in the third book you contrasted him to all the other Khandra,
Yeah. hmm
and so
Yeah. Well, in this one, in a book where clearly there's some sort of theme of opposites and offset. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if like quantum pairs was sort of what pushed this idea in its head. I'm sorry, I should back up. There's this theory of quantum computing that would be faster. You could, in theory, do faster than light communication, but you would need to have these. They'd be quantum paired
mhm,
electrons, where if one was spinning the positive direction, the other would have to spin the negative direction,
hmm
and so you could use this to communicate faster than light.
mhm,
Um, the fact that we're seeing this with two different worlds who sort of feel like that's what they were done, and then we go to Yumi's planet and she makes like the heating pair, and one is cold, the other's hot, or something like that.
mhm.
hmm
He seems to be also doing that with the characters themselves.
The other reason that this makes me think Ashen and the Rosharan system in some way is they've basically turned themselves into Fabrials, the same way that like instead of becoming shard weapons, the spirits are basically Spren, from what I can tell. I'm
That was
almost
the kind of
positive
feel
they're
that I
Spren.
got, that related to like how seance and things like are, just like that kind of
Hmm.
feel to it.
But the spirits in this feel like Spren, just with a different name.
Mm.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's also could be just the simple nature of things carry over in the Cosmere. Certain
I
principles
I
from
think that
one carry over
I
to the
think there's
other.
more to it than that. I think I really do, just because um the what are they called? Soulcasters.
Dang it.
There's some connection between them and Spren, and like it, and Brandon even mentions that the Spren could actually turn themselves into things other than weapons. It's
Here we
just
go.
hmm
Uh,
So,
Doc
are you
found a
looking at?
word of Brandon. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
it.
So I think this is
Uh,
probably what made me keep thinking that it wasn't Ashen. Do you want to
okay,
read
this
it,
Okay.
is
Jordan, or
someone
you want me to?
named Adam said, "What is the name of this system and the two planets in the system?" Brandon, Isaac has that somewhere. I'm not going to canonize it until Isaac ... Next stream we can have Isaac do that because I talked to him about it before I pick these things. So yeah, I've got it somewhere. Well, we'll talk about it. I won't promise it next stream, but we'll see if we will.
So, and Adam is the guy who reads the questions to him.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
that's
Is Adam who
producer
works
Adam,
for him? Yeah.
Yeah. And
his
so
his
it just
brother-in-law.
feels like if it were
If it
the
was,
Rosharan system, Brandon wouldn't have to have
I think
Isaac
he would have
canonize it.
given a Rafa or something instead.
Or he could just be KG. Because I did read that word of Brandon, because I was looking for anything that I would directly contradict this.
It just doesn't. And there was
You
also,
may be right, but I feel like there's
okay.
too many ties to,
We'll just see which one it is.
and
but
maybe
there
it's
was,
just because he's talking to somebody from Roshar. Clearly, like you
So-
pick that up through his asides
yeah,
and stuff.
relating to
Who do you
that,
think
like,
he's talking to?
oh goodness, I don't even know. But there was another word of Brandon. It was talking about the Warden Nemi phrase
Mhm.
that is used. And Brandon's answer is he's using a phrase that his audience would be familiar with, but asterisk. There's maybe a little bit more, but when he's using the word Nimi, he is using the Shin word intentionally, right? But there's some more there. He's chosen to use a Shin phrase on purpose. I don't think that means that they are using a Shin phrase, that Yumi is. But who he's talking to, who Hoyt is talking to, would understand that better as Nimi. So
except that there's more to it than that.
I don't know.
And again, I think there's a connection. I mean, there is a direct connection from Shin and Ashen, from Shinovar and Ashen. They're just because they came from Ashen to Shinovar. We don't have to debate this, but this is just where I am.
Okay.
No, I want to talk about virtuosity personally.
Okay.
The fact that they said splintered herself,
Mm-hmm.
that's very different from every other situation we've
Not
ever
every
seen.
other situation. Because Endowment splinters herself partially every time a return comes back.
That's right, yeah.
This sounds bigger than... this doesn't sound like a small splintering.
Mm-hmm.
Where this sounds like it was a...
no, this is like the dead shard splintering almost positively.
Yeah.
It
I have a feeling she did it for creative inspiration, that it's just I'm just gonna inspire everybody.
It would be the ultimate artist move.
It would, and I don't know. That's my gut reaction, but I don't know if that's actually what it is. We don't have enough information for that.
It feels like something an artist would do to literally die for their art.
Oh yeah.
And it's just artists, they're so dramatic. But it would, I make fun of it, but to the credit, that would be the ultimate, that fitting. It's very fitting of an anime setting. That totally something from an anime. It's then the god split itself in half so that it could fully express its artistic nature. You're just okay, there's a lot going on here. And when does the 16-year-old kill the other anti-god to save the world? But cutting off an ear. Yeah, very Van Gogh.
Yeah.
No, it I can't wait to I find it interesting that one seems to be very technologically advanced compared to the other one.
Mm-hmm. At least from what we've seen, but yeah. Well, again, the what are they called? Heian?
It's Heian. That's
the Heian lines. I mean, they basically
so Brandon,
are like giant magical power lines. It seems like.
Yeah.
So Brandon said I was really confused because I listened to Brandon's reading of it, and he kept saying Heion, like Sion, which so I was imagining. So where you're like Ashen, I'm trying to draw comparisons to Elantris.
Well, it's spelled Hion instead of
and so once I saw the text, I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah, so somebody actually asked about the King Daughter 613. Asked about the two colors.
She's active on a lot of the Reddit subreddits.
I'm not on Reddit at all, so I never know. Anyway, but they mentioned that that the Heion colors are magenta and cyan, and which are used in printers. So was that intentional? And he's like, yep. And then she said, well, what if so? What happened to yellow? And he's like, Raffo. Good question. So that made me go, oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't think about that, but yeah. Because it's magenta.
The answer, it looks better on a cover without the yellow.
It looks pretty. That's why. So
no, that obviously not the actual answer, but no, it does look really good. And in fact, I find it interesting that these spirits, come in and they need to feed and get these ideas from their fears.
Yeah. Oh, those ones, yeah. So it's twisted, and it's, I don't know. I keep thinking that. I don't know how to articulate what I'm thinking, but I know that there's going to be some connection between the spirits on her world and the nightmares on his. And whatever they're going to do, my guess is that it's going to fix it so that the nightmares are not blocking out the sky and feeding on people and whatever else. but I don't know if that's actually going to be the case. But that's just where my gut reaction is.
No, let's talk about the nightmares.
They're
Because
freaky.
they are like they have the very, very Japanese eldritch feeling to them.
Yeah.
Like that formless, like
Stretched out, like huge hands.
it's like when No Face gets really, really creepy in
he's
Spirited
weird.
Away.
Yeah.
Like not when he's this cute little,
Like mask
dumpy
and
thing,
cape. Yeah.
wandering around and handing coins and stuff like that. But like when he goes all
and he's gorging himself and he's huge
nastified
and he's dripping goo and just he's creepy.
There's also they feel drippy.
Yeah, especially like with his descriptions, because I mean they feel like they're inky almost kind of, and how they are,
which fits very well with
it's very fitting.
It makes me think like this is not a perfect analogy, but for some reason it keeps bringing to mind Pink Elephants on Parade from Dumbo.
Oh,
or
I can
Heffalumps
see
and
that,
Woozles.
but just like
The nightmare sequences from the early Disney movies, but but like horrifying.
Yeah, way back when.
But like without the Disney filter, even so.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of when we finally get to see the Night Mother in Oathbringer.
Yeah.
And she's got like hands coming out of her face, and
she's creepy
and whiny at the same time.
Yeah.
Mother, I was gonna do it. No, but yeah, it does have this very otherworldly feel to it.
I'm sorry. I just saw something in chat and then I had to go search it. According to Doc FG in chat, and I went and I looked up this WOB, it is technically theoretically possible to nail bond a nightmare.
Yeah, somebody asked that. I forgot about that. But yeah, that's...
Well, I mean, if someone can nail bond, theoretically nail bond Kelsier,
then why not, right?
Has that been confirmed? Or I can't remember if we made that up or if that's actually been confirmed.
I think somebody asked
someone asked him.
Okay.
Now, he said, it'd be complicated.
But, it's theoretically possible.
Yeah.
Good luck convincing him.
Done. Oh, knowing Kelsier, he'd be sitting over here going like, tripping, let's do this.
Oh, man. Sorry, I keep scanning through the Word of Brandon's and like trying to remind myself, because I was able to reread the chapters, but I couldn't re-listen to the thing today. Live stream.
We'll forgive you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
No, but it was crazy. Somebody in the chat commented and said like Painter seems really boring, and I'm like, I think he's cute and I feel sad for him, and I don't know. I just liked him anyway. I didn't get that feeling.
No, the other thing that's interesting just about Painter, so we see him with the simple one. He just does bamboo because bamboo works. And it's one of those, he's not wrong. If it keeps working, though it does, you can tell his boss or whoever that is just like sus.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting that when he actually has to, he's suddenly like, okay, how do we
paint this thing into not something scary? And he paints like the mom of the little kid.
It was very reminiscent to me of Harry Potter Boggarts.
Oh
yeah.
And
those are the
nightmare things.
Yeah, they become your fear, and you have to like
turn them into something harmless.
You're turning into something that you find ridiculous and funny.
I just realized what the visuals I've got for Painter's World kind of are. Except you have to take this and put it into sort of an Eternal Night. It makes me think of Okami.
I haven't ever played it, actually.
The premise is basically you are painting the magical spells, and so there's a lot of ink.
And I remember I saw, like, I loved the pictures of the wolf, and I always thought she was really pretty, but I did never play it because I'm super hit miss with gaming. But apparently somebody asked about they want to do fan art, and they're like, would early Tokyo be a good reference? And he's talking about like early 1900s Tokyo or late 1800s. And
early
stuff,
modern Tokyo is what he called it.
Yeah. Or Meiji.
But I'm just sort of
way to say it.
Yeah.
Early modern.
Well, basically, post-industrial Tokyo.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's just one of those. I hear it. I'm like, okay.
Well, and remember this is a very shortened answer that he gave because he kind of rambled for a few minutes, kind of being like, well, I mean, if you want to put it in terms, but then it's a really fluid way of saying early modern, because what do you mean by early modern? And and having...
I mean, early modern. Come on. It's easy to understand.
It's just everybody thinks early modern is different timings compared to which place it's coming from. So
well, and Brandon kind of goes into actual specifics too.
Yeah, he does.
Like he says a specific era, in fact. He says you
could go Meiji era, right end of Meiji era.
Yeah. So late 1800s. So like right after the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, right when they start banning swords and things.
No, but it's the other thing that's very interesting about the fact this is a second book where it's Hoyd telling the story, and so, but a little less tongue in cheek. It feels like than
less fairy tale. Brandon said.
Then oh dang it, what's the other one called?
Tress of the
That's what Tress. Yeah. And so it's interesting to me that we're getting another book from Hoyd's perspective, just because it just strikes me interesting. That's like, okay, now we get another Hoyd book.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think he did say that he was trying to test out some different voices for Hoyd. In preparation for, was it Dragonsteel or for what?
For Dragonsteel.
For Dragonsteel, okay.
Because Dragonsteel is Hoyd's origin story, and he has to figure out Hoyd's voice for that.
Yeah.
That was one of the problems that he had with the Liar Partnell when he did that back, and then which led to the Arithmetist, which we're not going to talk about because
oh darn,
but it's wonderful. That one has math too.
Can I just say I've been listening to Intentionally Blank, and a few episodes ago, Brandon mentioned they were talking about YA books, and Brandon said, and completely unironically, like seriously, he said there aren't that many. I can't think of any situations where a YA author has people who have been waiting for 10 years for a book, and I'm just like, have you heard of this little book called The Arithmetist? Because
that's right there, yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, so you're waiting on that?
Yeah. just a little.
But yeah.
No, it's so like this is just so different than the other stories we've had so far. What now? I'm trying to remember. Is this one another one that was for Emily?
Yes. Number 4 was for him.
That's right. Okay, yeah. 4 was for him.
And this is also his favorite of the 4.
Yeah, and this was her favorite as well. I think it seems to be like this is more the favorite for people than
most people at Dragonsteel's. It's been their favorite as well, and a lot of that's probably because there are so many little tidbits about the Cosmere and so
little teasing tidbits as well, like not as blatant as some of his other ones. And so I think it I don't know what's the phrase, too cute by half or something like that. Like it feels like it's a little bit sort of like that, where this one gets to be very cheeky about things in a way that
other ones can't.
Yeah. No, the other thing I love about this is the thing that worked about Elantris was the fact that if one character didn't work, well, stick around, you might like the other one. And so reading this, I found myself enjoying Painter's world more than Yumi's world.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna like the Painter chapters more. This world seems more cool. Painter seems more my vibe. And then at the very end, plot twist, literally.
They're gonna be hanging out. No, I really like Yumi though too. Like she feels so trapped and like the whole like being stuck with, oh, but you're so blessed, and it's like, but I don't get to do anything I want to do.
Mhm.
Like I don't have any freedom, and like her warden lady, oh, she's awful.
Oh, so you don't
I
like
hate her.
her?
No.
Well, and Brandon
No.
again, pointed to Final Fantasy X for this, where Yuna like is an inspiration for Yumi as a character.
I never
Yeah,
played.
not what I
did watch
anticipated.
it.
I did not expect Final Fantasy X to ever come up in the Cosmere.
Well, and then the concept of basically, because Brandon goes in a little bit deeper on what's going to happen in future chapters, just sort of giving this is the premise where they basically are inhabiting each other's bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is sort of a spirit presence who's near them. And then when they go to sleep, they shift to the other person.
Yeah, I feel like I've read a lot of webcomics that do similar things, and I'm sure there are other mangas that have done it too, but I haven't read them.
Well, I find it interesting that this is coming out right around the same time as Moon Knight, which has a similar, you go to sleep and you wake up in a different
spot,
a different person. Or I don't know enough about Moon Knight. I just know that the
Yeah.
premise is kind of
like he's
on
doing
that.
things when he's not aware of it, kind of. Yeah. I don't know enough about Moon Knight either.
Yeah, he's not as much as I love comic books. He's one that's definitely a blind spot for me.
But just the fact that this is coming out as Moon Knight is getting ready to premiere, I just find it interesting.
I don't think that was intentional.
Oh, absolutely not.
But this is interesting, like the timing, like with the color magics between Sanderson as well as Brent Weeks with his color thing. Just they happen to be about the same time.
Right. The other thing that's interesting to me is it also reminds me of did you either of you play? I want to say. I can't remember if it's Spirit Tracks or the Phantom Hourglass. It's one of the Zelda games on handheld, where basically Zelda is a spirit who's kind of accompanying Link. And from time to time, she'll possess enemies and you can control them to solve puzzles and stuff. But it's just sort of having that person who has been removed from their body for whatever reason and is just sort of accompanying you and saying, okay, go do that. Brandon likes this concept. Now, this is the first time he's done it externally, because he did it in Legion, where there were people who he had aspects who represented different skills that he had, and they would coach him through different things. The invisible advisor, I think, is kind of the concept that.
Yeah, no, it's unique, and just body swapping in general is just not something Brandon's ever done.
Yeah, I read quite a few Korean comics and things like that. They've all been translated to English. I don't speak any Korean, but there's a lot of like body swap comics though. It's kind of crazy, like how many of those happen.
And Brandon said he's intentionally kind of avoiding the I'm in someone else's body, like to their own perspective. It's kind of a quantum leap type thing where he sees himself and feels like himself, but everyone else sees the other person. Exactly.
Which is going to be weird for poor Painter. I think Yumi's going to like it at first. Well, yeah, I think Yumi's going to be kind of overwhelmed by her sudden freedom, but poor Painter is going to be whole different. Yeah, I mean, yeah, very different.
Yeah, it's going to be bizarre for both of them. Also, I want to know if we're going to get more design moments, because
I sure hope so. I sure hope they end up going to design and she's like, oh, this is interesting.
She is the one of my favorite kinds of weird.
I know, she's awesome.
Because she's got the utter self-confidence
Mm-hmm.
and is completely wrong about it. But she's so enthusiastic about her ideas. You're just like, there's something about you that I kind of love.
Mm.
Also, the fact that Hoyd is partial owner of a noodle house. And Brandon said years ago that Hoyd loves ramen.
Did he?
Oh, that's a word of Brandon from way back when.
Oh, so that's even
Did
better.
somehow miss that one.
Let me see. Let me find that one. Y'all.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I
Talk
know.
many
I
times.
definitely want to hear that one.
Oh, man. That's funny. So I'm sure
That's-
somebody would have asked, like, what's their favorite food, you know?
Yes, but even with the what's your favorite food, like I just
Nobody-
wouldn't have expected that from Hoyd, I
man.
guess.
But a good ramen,
Oh
isn't it
no,
so good?
ramen is to die for.
It's amazing. I think the weirdest one I had though, like, had little tiny octopuses in it. That was a little weird.
That is that's more than a little weird. Octopus is like the only seafood I don't like.
I can't do raw octopus or raw squid. It squeaks, and that's just no, can't do it. Because
What if this is a long play by Brandon to open up a like his own
A
chain
ramen
of
shop.
ramen shops?
Oh man, I'm sure they'd do well as long as they got good chefs. Though apparently, somebody asked him if Brandon if he would have liked Design's ramen, and he's like, I would add salt to it because she found like the median liking that everybody would pick.
The most neutral.
The most, like the most people
Inoffensive.
generally like it, but but Brandon's also talking about how he likes more salt than most people too. So
Yeah, there's just several words of Brandon where Hoyd's favorite foods are bacon and instant noodles. And people asked him, Brandon's like, well, I mean, I like instant noodles.
I
Who
like
doesn't like instant noodles? So,
wrong. Yeah.
and
I
so
know
it's
a
just
lot of
it's
people who don't.
become a whole thing with Hoyd.
Mm. Actually, my husband was averse to them for a while, but he took them on a camping trip, and it was like the only food he brought for himself. So he got a little tired of them.
But yeah, so the fact that Hoyd owns partial stock in an instant noodle house,
and I
where
love how
he is a decoration.
Where he's like, yeah, the reason that I'm a partial owner because she picked my pockets to find the money to help buy it. So
Okay, actually, not this Dragonsteel Minicon, but the next one. There better be a pop-up ramen shop.
I would
Oh,
love
man.
that.
We'll need to talk to Kara.
Yeah. Be like, no, find a good ramen place. They will do well.
Jordan, maybe you can do this.
I don't know
You
how to
do
cook ramen. Me?
You have. We just get a bunch of those plastic microwave things. It takes 3 minutes.
This is how I end up Brandon would come over to the booth. He would find me, and it'd be like the scene where Mr. Banks gets kicked out of the bank. He'd just come over, he'd like rip my shirt in half and just be like, "This, you're an insult to Hoyd or something."
Or he'd give you a hug and say, "Hey, I like instant noodles." That's the thing. He doesn't just say ramen. He says instant noodles.
Instant noodles.
I don't trust this. This sounds like you're trying to get me to sabotage myself. I think this is your revenge for Grace saying I'm the victim here.
I just
I'll
don't
help
ever want to work in
bankroll
the food
this.
industry again. So, but no.
We'll need to talk to Kara.
We need to make
She's
this
our
happen.
ticket to making this happen.
She's our way in, yeah.
You know, since we're best friends with her now.
Well, yeah,
clearly.
and Isaac. We basically got to talk to Isaac's mother.
No, he actually very urgently moved so that we would not get the chance to talk to his mother.
But basically, though.
Anyway,
man.
back to Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I love the premise of, and again, this also reminded me of Spren. The whole painting them and they start going into it. It reminded me of that interlude with the Flame Spren in one of the Stormlight books, where there are two scientists, and as soon as they record how big they are, they're locked into that side. As soon as it's recorded.
Yeah, it's a concept Brandon definitely likes,
Mhm.
because we also see that somewhat in oh gosh, trying to remember. Oh, I'm blanking on it now. Come back to me later.
Okay. I don't even know what you're thinking. Like what
You,
region you're
yeah,
thinking.
I'm trying to think of. In Emperor's Soul, that's where I was going, where she talks about in forgery how you're trying to. It sees itself like this, but like it could be this, and you have to give it, something that it would like to be.
It could be
And
fire,
yeah, but then stick. I look, Shalon is not going to be the best forager.
or she's going to be the very best forager
No,
eventually.
she's the best forgery.
Mm.
But the thing, but it's just one of those like Emperor's Soul just is the best explanation of Brandon's three realms idea.
Yeah.
And it's just we're seeing it in action here. We see we get to see that this is a thing.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love seeing these things sort of the concepts carry over throughout the Cosmere and sort of any magic system that has that has a cognitive aspect to it. This'll matter.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want
And there were
another
several
Soul.
questions that were asking about like intent and different things like that, and if you could hell bond things, and if you could do different things that Night Radiant can do with some of the substances that are on their world. And yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
he raffoed a few of them, and others he's like, yeah, it could almost, or you're on a right path, kind of, or that's interesting, or different things. So
Right.
there's definitely connections that way.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing, it for me, I'm listening to this and I'm just trying to figure out how to turn Painter's World into the Cosmere version of a Ghostbusters episode. But
Oh, you saw that connection too, did you?
of course I did. Look, first of all, we both know that I'm going to find that connection wherever it is.
No, I actually had a very Ghostbusters vibe going on with Painter going around.
I mean, in more realistic terms, it's more like a rat catcher of some kind, because most of the time it's not a big or animal control. Most of the time it's just
But that's
roadkill on
what
the side of the
Ghostbusters
road.
is.
Yeah, but Ghostbusters. Look, he's not putting Bill Murray in a book yet, and once we do, it's going to be great.
The day that we see that a book by Brandon Sanderson and Bill Murray.
Oh goodness.
I mean, it wouldn't be the most insane thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's just that the supernatural pest control is just
Yeah.
such an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if it's just one of those, if done well, the story has a lot of potential.
There's definitely potential. So
There is another big author, and I'm totally blanking on their name now, but I could have sworn there's a series where somebody does do like supernatural pest control, but like a step up from that too.
Hmm.
And I'm just blanking on what it is now.
I believe it's called Ghostbusters.
Luigi's Mansion.
Yes, that's the one.
Wow.
That's the one. We're helping.
Totally helping.
We're helpful people. Monster Hunters. Pokemon. I think that's right. It was Pokemon.
Oh no, it was not Pokemon. It was.
Okay, so yeah. Any other thoughts on this?
It's awesome. I wish I could cosplay it better, but I'm kind of worried that I'm not gonna look right for it.
Well, you're gonna have the fingers, the creepy fingers.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but I'm meaning I don't think I could do Yumi or Painter well.
Well, who knows?
We'll get more.
I have a feeling that once come not this Dragonsteel or Minicon, but the next one, I have a feeling we're gonna get an absolute just a veritable rainbow's worth of cosplays, because we're gonna have 4
Oh,
different books to
absolutely.
pull from, and from all types of different worlds. I'm looking forward to seeing what people come up with.
Yeah, we're getting 3 new worlds, and so
with,
Yeah.
with and all of them with very different vibes from one another.
Oh, Doc FG just said a ton of
Yes.
bronze statues. I want statue people at the next Dragonsteel minicon.
Oh man, I thought about that and I'm like, but I'm not that good at body paint. Mm-mm.
Like, if you've ever seen the street performers who do
They're
statues,
good.
oh, that'd be so cool to have
Oh,
a void.
and Doc actually found the title of the book series I was thinking of. It's Monster Hunter International by Larry Correa.
Oh, Larry Correa, yeah.
I haven't read them, but I heard they're good. Anyway, so that's there
Okay.
you go. Supernatural Pest Control.
I've heard of him. I've never read any of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I too have never heard of him.
But yeah. Any other final thoughts before we close out this episode?
I loved it. It was so much fun. I was like, oh my goodness, Brandon is doing my anime stuff. I love it.
It does have very anime vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to talk at all just about the Kickstarter in general? Because there's been a couple of developments on that.
Yeah, let's talk it. Do it.
So yeah, we know some of the artists. I don't remember their names.
Yeah,
though.
we're moving away from talk about the story. But talking about the Kickstarter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, the Kickstarter is now above $35 million.
It's so much money.
It's literally now, if you took the number 2 all time and the number 3 all time, put them together, Brandon would have a couple million left over.
Can I just say something about the numbers in the Kickstarter that that kind of creeped me out as I was reading this? There's a sequence after Yumi does her summoning thing we're bringing up with all the rocks and bringing the spirits by. She says 37. She'd summoned 37. Most Yokihijo were lucky to get 6. Her previous record had been 20. Brandon's last Kickstarter was 6 million.
Oh my goodness.
What?
The previous record was 20.
20. Oh my goodness.
If he makes it to 37, that's going to be a little weird.
If this hits 37, that's kind of nuts, right?
Right there, yeah.
Brandon, you magnificent dad.
Well, especially because he wrote this before the Kickstarter happened.
Yeah.
He's not going to be able to convince us this isn't on purpose.
And I'm just like, if he hits 37 million, I am going to be shouting from the rooftops because Brandon is a dadgum prophet.
That madman.
Oh, man.
I'm glad you appreciate this. Like, because as soon as I read those numbers, I was just like, wait.
That I am mad I didn't pick up on that.
to be fair, I read it today.
Okay.
And so, I was a lot closer to it, but most were lucky to get 6.
Yeah.
Previous record had been 20. 37. If it hits 37.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, so then the other thing, it's now crossed over 155,000 backers, making it the second most backed Kickstarter ever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no chance they're going to get number 1. Number 1's Exploding Kittens, and that was over 200,000.
Wow.
I own Exploding Kittens.
Everyone owns Exploding Kittens from the feel of it.
I actually do not.
How do you not own Exploding Kittens of all people?
On principle.
My kids love it. It's kind of creepy to watch them play it. I'm like, oh, they only play it like once or twice. They always want to play Unstable Unicorns. Is what they always want to play.
Now I have Unstable Unicorns because that was given to me. Mm-hmm. You have more than one of those, Jordan.
Look, what Larry does in his free time is none of your business.
I just know that we're gonna have a Trouble with Tribbles explosion one day of Larry's.
Anyway, but we were trying to talk about the extra stuff that's happened since.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Also, I love what Brandon's doing with his. What is he? He's not calling them stretch goals because he didn't put them out
goals.
The thank you goals.
Yeah.
Thank you goals. Yeah.
Well, and they're not goals because
Yeah,
stretch
they
goals
give
are meant to
rewards.
entice people to come in and give more. And at this point, Brandon's kind of uncomfortable with how much he's
It's like,
got.
Well,
I mean,
to the point that he's giving back.
Yeah,
he did that video and it was like it's about a half hour and it's sped up, and he and his team find like 200 plus
I
literary.
think it was over 300 actually.
Was it 300? Oh my goodness, I lost track.
I don't recall how many it was,
but it was a lot anyway. But he went and funded and like contributed to Kickstarter or whatever,
To
a bunch
all
of
the Kickstarters, every
all
single
the
one of them.
publishing,
all the different
I
publishing
know.
ones. And and there was like ones where it was for giving books to foster kids and like stuff about like an alphabet of, I think it was a Korean alphabet or something, and like a poet is going to write him a little like poem just for him or whatever, and just like a whole bunch of other crazy things.
It was
315.
It
And
was
Soccer Moms of
incredibly
the
wholesome.
Apocalypse. That one sounds really funny.
That's the one. Talk about winning the title game.
Yes.
Like that's just one of those. Someone says that, and it's like, I mean,
I need to know
I need
more.
to at least have a little bit of information.
Well,
I can't stop there.
And there were a few where Brandon just said, "Okay, we're close, so just fund it. Just fill the whole thing." Like
sometimes it was like $100 to finish it. Sometimes I think he did one that like he did 1,000 and just.
Well, that was the foster kids one you were talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where it was like 2,000 away, and he's like, "Hey, let's just
get it really
do
close,
that and donated it to the fosters."
And I think he got like one book for him, but the rest are just going to foster kids.
Yeah.
So that's.
No,
it's
awesome.
so incredibly wholesome. Like it's almost disgusting how wholesome it is.
Well, and his major takeaway is we accidentally spammed everybody who was following us because they got a notification every time we.
Well, then they found out that it was only if you wanted to be alerted of it, because
it was people who were actively following rather than.
And so it wasn't everybody getting spammed, but so they made like a second account to do more to finish it off. So.
No, it was just so cool that they decided to do that. It's just another example. Brandon, he didn't have to, but he did it anyway.
Yeah, and then I think the other things that he's done is he's upped the number of colors that some of the like the foils are going to be, and like the interior art and stuff. So I think for this one, there's going to be 2 or 3 inside colors, which is going to be really pretty for considering the Heons and stuff like that. So that's going to be cool.
So it'll add like gold to the
gold foil on the outside.
Yeah, gold foil, that's what it was.
And the inside they can have like 3 colors for the for the illustrations and stuff compared to just having like 2.
Or just one.
Or just one, yeah. And I think what is it, like Howard Lyon is doing the first book, and I can't remember. I don't remember who the artist was for the third one, but her stuff looked really pretty.
Howard Lyon did a bunch of the Herald art, didn't he?
Yes. He also, if you went to Minicon, he was the one who did those woodcut prints.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think he's shown off the artist for most of them by now, but I'm terrible with names, so I don't remember who they are. But yeah.
No,
and he's talked about some of the reward boxes, like, or the swag boxes, what's been inside them. Like, they're going to have Doomslug Go Fish cards.
Yes, which that's hilarious.
Which I'm like, oh man.
Do you have any boom slugs?
I need a boom slug.
But yeah, good stuff.
But yeah, and there's just, and I think there's a notebook or something that he's planning to do too, and just lots of cool stuff.
It's all in the videos on his YouTube channel. So if you want to go check out the videos at youtube.com/Brandon Sanderson, they're all up there.
Well, and then one of the other cool things is the fact that we're now getting Brandon's like starting to do some media stuff outside of the normal stuff. Like he had that interview on what was it, CBS or something?
Can we talk about that? Because I have issues.
We can't talk about that. We have to talk about the one thing that Bill is obsessed with.
The first thing that I noticed, because as I'm watching it, there is a picture. And it's a picture that they show of a representation of Brandon's works. And it's like the most obscure of his books
are
highlighted.
Archive.
Huh?
I didn't see any Stormlight Archive.
There is one Stormlight Archive. It's Dawn Shard. No, it's Edge Dancer.
Was it Edge
Yeah.
Dancer? I was like, what are people doing?
It was Edge Dancer, but it's just like they have Mistborn.
Yeah, they had that. They had
But then
they had
it's
Wave-
like
they had,
it's like what's it called?
Emperor's Soul was on there. They
Firstborn.
had
Yeah, Emperor's Soul.
No, but it's like Firstborn, and it's the Infinity Blades
Infinity game,
and
yeah,
Lux, and I'm just like, this is not a representation of Brandon's work.
You need like twice that. Just more.
Yeah. Well, it's not just twice that. It's like, and then the original, which is the one that the audio only one that he did with Mary Robinette Cole.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of
and
like
Legion and stuff on there, and and different things. And it's like we like those too, but you're missing out on a lot of things.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is a completely normal representation of all Brandon's works.
But it's just I have an issue with this.
I was totally
CBS,
jealous of his
come
house.
on.
His house looked awesome. I'm pretty sure that was his house they were inside, which I had not been inside.
The one with the castle in the background, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Well, and then on top of it, the other thing that he did, I don't know if you guys saw it. Did you see his interview with Daniel Green?
I haven't watched it yet. No.
I don't know that I've watched that one yet.
It was really good. What's interesting is one of the things that we, people are talking about this, sort of changing some things with the publishing industry. And so Daniel, that's something Daniel Green covers a lot of. If you aren't familiar with him in chat, he's someone who covers a lot of fantasy book stuff,
just media and stuff.
Yeah. And so he was talking about that, and Brandon, he's like, is this sort of a shot? And Brandon said, he's like, this isn't a shot, but it is sort of a little bit of a warning shot, or so he said something to that effect, where it's about the fact that there are things that he and a lot of other writers have had problems with the general publishing industry for a while, and they don't really get listened to by the publishers. And he's trying to get them to, this is sort of a proof of concept in many ways,
right.
Showing that, okay, guys, look, this is a real thing.
Yeah, I loved in the CBS interview, she asked if like, are you trying to shake things up or whatever, kind of to that effect. And he's like, well, I remember, he's like, Amazon has does like 85% of the publishing, physical publishing. And he's like, I had a month or two where there was a contract issue, and he's like, and I just didn't, there was no income or whatever. He's like, and I've never forgotten. And I was like, my husband and I were like, oh, Amazon is probably watching that going, okay, who was in charge of that? Because that's not good, guys. Obviously. But anyway.
No, but it was just very interesting hearing it from hearing him talk about that, because there's been a lot of theorizing around that exact subject, and people saying, oh, it's not, oh, it is, because of course everyone on the internet always agrees. And it was just nice to hear him sort of come out and say what it was. And in his Brandon way, he's not going to, he never comes out, just putting people on blast. That's not his way of doing things, but just being very open about the fact that I am making a little bit of a statement.
Yeah.
And it's just not something I expect. I never expected him to really come out and say anything about that.
Yeah, no, it's been very interesting just seeing, well, and people are noticing, like that's the thing, like the fact that Brandon was interviewed on CBS News, and like this isn't just in fantasy circles anymore.
Yeah
When you raise $35 million, almost 36, you do start to
get noticed.
You start to raise some eyebrows,
right?
But I don't know, it's just, what a unique time to be alive, getting to see stuff like this.
I know, it's crazy.
Yep.
One, it's just not something, I mean, once again, it just goes back to we didn't expect this at all, and here we are.
Yeah, pretty much. And like when you just see how rocked Brandon is by all of this too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
You hear people use the word humbled a lot, and they always use it wrong, and it annoys me. You'll hear athletes do it all the time. They get this giant contract. They're like, "Oh, I'm so humbled." No, you're not. This is
You're
literally
not,
the
actually.
least humble time of your life. There is not a time in your life you're going to be less humble than right now. You just got paid $200 million. But Brandon does seem to, he doesn't use words like humbled. He's appreciative, and he seems to understand what this means. And, and it's kind of cool for Brandon, just because, like they talked about in the CBS thing, he knows what it's like to be a struggling artist. He's, he wrote 13 books before he ever got published. And it's just really neat to see it from his perspective, to see this level of success, and nothing that he could have ever really, as he talks about, he's always dreamed big, but it's one thing to dream it, and it's another thing to see it suddenly happen. Because this is wild.
And I love that they're like, so what would be kind of like your dream thing? And he's like, I want to be Stan Lee. Which is, I was like, oh my goodness.
And I love that he's mentioned any production of his books, which he's only half counting Wheel of Time, but any production of his books, he wants a Stan Lee like cameo, but he wants to be dying. Like he wants each of his cameos to be him dying in some other horrible fashion. And I think he said it's basically allowing his characters to get revenge for what he puts them through.
He has put them through a bit.
That. Yeah.
He has put them through a little bit, but nothing too horrible.
Just a bit.
When exactly does this end?
When does the Kickstarter end? It ends on Friday.
No, here it says Thursday, March 31st.
Oh, right. Thursday.
At 5 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time.
A couple more days.
So if you're listening to the recording, it ends tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, so I was actually
on the day of release.
I was actually thinking about streaming the end of the campaign.
Well, if you want to, you got the streaming stuff.
That's up to you. I may join in, but I'm
gonna
just for my
dinner
normal
and kids
stream
and whatever stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna be available for it. So
no, but it's I don't know. I just
possibility.
I'll be there in spirit.
Well, we'll allow that. I don't know. It's just one of these things of like, when will this ever happen again?
Next year.
Next
year.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever happens next year, it won't be this.
No, it absolutely won't.
There's not the surprise factor. There's not the, Brandon can't ever do this again. It's a trick that only works once.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if he ever comes out, it's like, I have to come clean. Everyone's going to be just like, Brandon,
more books.
We've been through this again.
Brandon, did you write 12 books?
He does.
Are we getting a book every month next year?
I hope he realizes he literally can never retire now, because no one will believe any retirement video he comes out with. It's just going to be us being, okay, Brandon, whatever, and he's going to
pull Tom Brady, right? I pulled the sports reference right there.
I'm impressed. Good work.
Thank you.
It's like, come on, no, you're not, and he's like, yeah, no, but really this time. And no one will believe him. And
he's said he'll never retire.
Yeah.
Like he said, like somebody asked him and he said, retire. I'll stop writing when somebody comes in and finds me dead with my face on the keyboard and the letter K typed out 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
Why specifically K?
I don't know if it may have been L. I don't. It was just he picked a letter.
I don't know. It's a letter.
I like the idea though that it's K. I kind of like, because that's like the sound of him like on the keyboard.
Anyway, we love hearing from our listeners, so please keep sending in questions. We're kind of building up a stockpile of listener questions that we can answer over time. So if you want to send that in, you can ask us about the Cosmere, or drop us your idea for topics that you want us to discuss during the show. And while you're at it, what we would really love is we'd love to hear your feedback on how you think we're doing. as well as any interesting theories that you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere. You can send all your questions and suggestions in a brief, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and hopefully we'll be able to read that once we're getting more into reading listener feedback and questions moving forward. We also have a P.O. Box, which is the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. Now, Jordan, you mentioned that you were possibly going to stream on Thursday. Where would somebody go if they wanted to watch that stream or any other stream that you happen to do?
Well, Bill, I am floored at just how smoothly you segued into that. And that would be twitch.tv/splicestream. And yeah, I'm definitely going to do it. Just it'll be a ton of fun. And then we'll probably segue after that whenever it finishes up, because it finishes up right when I normally start my normal stream. I'll probably do some Amiibo Raid Boss Tower, so some of you can get a feel for that. The other thing is a reminder: we're going to be doing this read along of Era 2 of Mistborn starting next week. So if you want to participate in that, prologue through chapter, did I say 3 or 4? 3 through
3.
chapter 3 of Alloy of Law, and I'll be discussing that. So definitely be checking out our YouTube channel for that sometime next week.
And you've also got your own YouTube channel, don't you?
I do. And I did actually recently publish a video for it that I am quite proud of with the help of my editor, Maddie. It's our first edited video of the Amiibo Raid Boss Tower. We'll put it in the show, put a link to it in the show notes. I just realized I should do that because I'm very proud of how it turned out. Maddie did an excellent job of editing.
Awesome. Amy, how about you? What have you got going on?
So here I go with my quick talking. My Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay, and my TikTok is @coincidencecosplay. And my website is www.coincidencecosplay.com. Ta-da! So I am finally finishing my Nazgul. It's not going to be like a boom, I'm done tomorrow, but I'm finally building the Warbler and Foam foot armor, the Sabaton. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyway,
Sabaton. Yeah,
I'm gonna let you do it because my nose is not cooperative today. So anyway, but I'm gonna have my Nazgul boots done, and then or the armor for my boots, and then I will take pictures of me as a Nazgul, and then I will take pictures that you guys won't see of me chasing my daughter as a hobbit. So it'd be great.
You can just say Sabaton as well. It works. It is French. It's Sabaton, but yeah, Sabaton works as well.
I don't know. It's like the whole thing where people say like, "Oh, it's karaoke," and I'm like, "Yes, but it's also karaoke." So I'm like, how do I have to. I feel weird about it. So it's just me being weird. No worries.
And just say it
so
like
anyway,
me.
So I'm
karaoke.
Oh, the cringe. Anyway, but yeah, I'm working on my Nazgul, and then I'm gonna try and work on pattern next. I think is my next big thing, and I have my crazy fingers. I don't have them with me, but yeah. So that's my 2 big projects.
Because
Lots
Amy
of black.
takes off her fingers now. Some people juggle geese.
As for myself, I have another podcast with my friend Dylan. We talk about board games. It's called The Innkeeper's Table. We have new episodes come out on Friday mornings. The most recent episode we did was a Spiel des Jahres Spotlight. Spiel des Jahres, again, Game of the Year award. This was the 1981 winner, I believe. It's called Focus or Domination. It was published under 2 different names. Really interesting game. Looks very simple, but when you get in, it's really a brain burner when you're coming to the main playing strategies.
What type is it?
It's an abstract game, sort of it scratches my chess brain.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And then our next episode is a game spotlight on a game that actually hasn't come out just yet. It should be hitting crowdfunding next month. It's called Last Light by Roy Cannaday, who is one of the members of the Dice Tower. He's one of their reviewers and people who work there. But Dylan got a chance to play that at Dice Tower West, which we attended at the end of last month. And so Dylan kind of gives me a pitch for that game in this episode, and it's definitely worth checking out. For those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you cannot become patrons, we would absolutely love it if you would tell your friends about the podcast, let them know about the show. And don't forget to subscribe and to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies as well for the videos. And if you really want to help us out, toss us a good review wherever you listen to us. That would be wonderful. Again, we like feedback. We're content creators. We want feedback. We need acknowledgement. It's just it's a curse, really.
Plus, it feeds
Also,
the almighty algorithm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Also, head on over to store.streamelements.com/Cosmere Studies to buy SICS merch if you want to.
The sixest of merch.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts before we close it out?
It's
If
pretty.
Brandon ends up hitting 37, that man.
Oh boy.
Yep. I want a giant, oversized paintbrush.
I could make that happen.
Amy's thinking Warblock.
Dang it! No.
Whatever that means. I still
don't
think it's
need
a
more
made-up
props.
word.
I don't need more props.
Amy, be realistic. You can always use more props.
But I don't have space.
And Josh can't get mad at us because we're not you. And we just get to be the shoulder devils that just be like, Amy,
I don't get a shoulder angel?
Amy, more props.
No.
No, your shoulder angels is your bank account. That's not our responsibility.
Oh, man.
But just think of how cool a giant paintbrush would be.
It would be awesome. It
Yeah,
really
see?
would be.
Perfect. All the justification you need.
Dang it. Oh. I don't need more on my queue.
Special thanks to our patron producer, Mim's Laundry Service. Removing nightmare stains for millennia. In addition to the live episodes of the store that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile at Cosmere Studies. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions for the show, email them to cosmerestudies@gmail.com. In our next episode, we will be discussing the final of Brandon's secret projects, which we won't name here in case you're still trying to keep at least something from these pre-releases unspoiled. If not, though, be sure to be here when we record live at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern in 2 weeks on April 11th, 2022 at www.twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember, there's always another secret.